Listen to Downtown Hot Radio on the air 24 hours a day and 7 days a week.
You're now tuned in to the Real Rap Radio Show. I'm your host, Walil Archer on Downtown Radio. I have a special guest with me. I have Fred Scott. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing very good for an old timer. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining me today. Excited to have you. I always love talking to authors. And if you could let everyone know, how did you begin your journey as an author?
Well, when I retired, of course, when I was still working at the University of Cornell University in the College of Veterinary Medicine, I was teaching and writing and doing research. And so, I was writing a lot for articles and things. So that started back in the 60s, so been at it a long time.
That's funny. So when you started, did they really have computers back then?
I'm sorry?
The 60s? I said back in the 60s, did they even have computers back then?
No, no, that was long before computers.
Right.
No cell phones, no computers.
Right. So when you started writing, like where would you do it on a typewriter, I guess? Or you just handwrite everything?
I used a typewriter,
Okay. Yeah, because I remember that. I remember those days. Of course I'm a little younger, but I remember I kind of started off on a typewriter too. Then they had when the PCs came out and everything else.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about your
I remember the first PCs and trying to get those going in our office.
So do you remember AOL when they used to dial up and take? Yeah. So let me ask you this: what's your thoughts on the progression in life, as far as being the creative, writing books, from the technology that wasn't available when you was growing up to now with all this technology now? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, it certainly is different, and I did a lot of teaching and lecturing, and with PowerPoint and creating slides, that sort of thing. Boy, it sure is so much easier than when I had to start it out, because I did a lot of traveling and teaching, doing CE programs for practicing veterinarians, and it was a real challenge to get the slides together and create these slides that I wanted to provide the information and the research that we had. These were all on feline infectious diseases, is what I talked about, so that's some different than being able to use a computer and a good PowerPoint program.
Yeah. You bring back memories. I remember when I first started trying to be in business, and just the fact that I had to go to the library for everything, and all the technology just wasn't accessible when I first started. So every Sunday I used to get up and go to the library and read books and do research. So yeah, you just bring back memories. So let's talk about, since we're going back in memories, let's talk about your first book. What's the name of your first book you written?
Well, I did one as co-author. Was on the infectious diseases of animals. Infectious diseases of animals, really.
Okay.
This is a book. This was the 8th edition on it. This is a book that had been used in veterinary colleges throughout the world, for years. And actually, this was the last edition that was published of it. That was in 1988. Prior to that, I was, doing research results and publishing those, and doing chapters of books, and contributing chapters of books for other people on various topics, mainly on feline infectious diseases.
And what inspired you to pursue that industry?
I'm sorry.
What inspired you to pursue that area? Because you could have did criminal law, or anything else. What inspired you to go with infectious diseases?
Oh well, I graduated from veterinary school, and I was in practice for a while and did some research, and working on foot and mouth disease in cattle, actually, and I wanted to work on bovine infectious diseases. And but then I came back to do a graduate work here at Cornell, and I did 1 year of work with a bovine infectious disease, and I wasn't getting any results, so I had to switch over. And my mentor had started the first epicenter of feline infectious disease research in the country, in the world. And so I was there, and we had a good project that we decided on, and I switched my research over to that, and it turned out to be just an excellent project and very timely. And it went very well, you know, so I didn't have too many struggles at all on it. So, and then the results, you see that the results that I had for that was very important to the practitioners out there. You see, in the mid 1960s, feline infectious diseases, there was no work being done on it, and there was all kinds of viral diseases and bacterial diseases in the cat. And the cat was just beginning to become an important part of veterinary practice. And so I happened to be right at the right spot at the right time, or so I thought, you know. And later on, I realized, began to put things together, that no, it wasn't something I did. You know, the Lord was helping me and putting me in where I should be. So that's part of the story, and part of the reason I wrote that Open Doors. So.
Yes. And before we get to Open Doors, can we talk about your second book? What's the title of your second book?
Well, I went in when I retired. I developed a 2-volume set of genealogy. I got into genealogy and spent about 8 years writing on the genealogy of my family and publishing those 2 books. And so that was very interesting and everything. And and there were some challenges along the way. So, but that was my second book. There was just a volume 1 and volume 2 of that's this one here, and it's Clifton William Scott and Mildred Evelyn Bradford Scott of Ashfield, Mass. Ancestors, descendants, and New England heritage. So it was my parents, the ancestors and descendants from it, and so getting all that information together. So.
And how about your third book? What's your third book title?
Third book was I was working with my wife on this. Actually, she had collected. The title of the book is "If You Want to Soar with Eagles, Don't Hang Out with Turkeys." And so she had collected these one-liners for 50 years, and she was tremendous in providing some information, you know, to people. She had tremendous antennas, and she knew when somebody needed a good word or something. And so she collected all these one-liners in a handwritten in a book. She didn't do any computer work or anything, you know. And so I said, well, we got to get this published in order for the family, you know, and friends and whatever. So there's there's a lot of these one-liners, or some are just plain funny, and others are will sort of hit you and make you think. And so so we put that together.
Yeah, I would love that, because no one-liners, I'm sure, is inspiring, motivated, and it can help you through your journey and through your day. So yeah, I would definitely love to read that one, because I love one-liners. Get you to thinking, make you smile, make you happy, change your mood, lift your spirit up. So yeah, I definitely like that.
So I put that together for her and got that published, and so in 2010 that was published.
Okay. And then how did you come up with Open Doors as your fourth book?
Well, as I retired, I'm looking back at my career and my life and everything, and I just these tremendous situations that happened that were just amazing. You know, and I started thinking, why did that happen? Whatever, and I realized that this was really the Lord that was opening doors for me, and I was not a believer until I was 37 years of age. And so the early research and everything, I thought, boy, I was just fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. And no, there was more to it than that. And so, and I started putting these together, and, not only my research in veterinary medicine, but the family and the things that happen, the real estate, just the list of real estate that we were able to acquire, not different stages through, or almost, or rent, or live in rent free, and that sort of thing, as I was going through school, and just amazing the number of things that happened. So I just want to put all of these together, and so people could see how the Lord really influenced our family. And we are so blessed. We got a large family. I have 3 boys, 11 grandkids, and 28 great grandkids at this point. So we have quite a family, and very blessed with that.
Nice. And how long did it take you to write the book from start to finish?
Probably 2 years. I mean, I wasn't working at it steady, and then there was some delay from that point in getting it published. And tried different avenues, and then I turned to Trinity Christian Publishing, where it really published that book.
When writing the book, did you come across writer's block? And if so, how did you overcome it?
No, I don't recall that. I don't recall.
Okay.
But I wasn't working at it constantly. Now, the genealogy books, they put a lot of hours in those, and but I was researching all kinds of stuff to get, and then putting that all on the computer. So
now, with Open Doors, how many chapters is in that book?
There's, can't remember. I think there's about 20. I haven't paid any attention to the number of chapters. No. 12 chapters, I guess, on that one.
Now, out of 20 or so chapters, any chapter stick out to you the most?
Well, it was all the way through here. It was the amazing, phenomenal way that I was blessed with these, as we say, open doors. And I was, my early research, when that was ready to be passed on to the veterinarians out there, I go to a local meeting, and then it was a state meeting, and then it was a national meeting, and then international meeting. So I was just out, a couple times a month to get speaking at these meetings. And I had no public speaking exposure at all when all of this started. And I was trying to make the slides that went along with it. And so I learned a lot along the way, a lot from my mistakes, but try to improve it the next time. And so, but that was amazing to me, to this farm kid that suddenly is traveling all over the country, and even internationally, and speaking to maybe 100, 200, maybe 1,000 veterinarians. So talking about feline infectious diseases, and I would have, sometimes these would be an hour, sometimes it would be a smaller group, but they'd be one whole day or 2 or 3 days sometimes in the CE program.
Nice. What do you want the readers to take away from reading your book?
Well, I want to make one thing clear. I did not write this to show how great I am, how great thou art. It wasn't the purpose, but the purpose was to give praise and glory to God for what he did for me and my family, and this journey through this fabulous veterinary medicine. It's quite a journey for me. I never could have accomplished this on my own. I know that.
Now, any plans on writing your 5th book?
I have some thoughts, but I don't have anything started yet.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. And if so, what would the title be for your fifth book? If so,
Well, I had a fabulous group of graduate students when I was a faculty member there. And one of the things we found, we wound up spending 20 years doing research on the feline coronavirus, which is very similar to the COVID-19 virus, in humans. They were separate, but there were many similarities to it. And there was a thing called antibody-dependent enhancement that we found. My first graduate student that worked on this disease in I think it was 1974, he came in one day and he says, I want to tell you something, show you something. And he found out that cats that had antibodies were more susceptible to the virus than those that did not have antibody. And they did not develop clinical disease until they had developed antibodies on their own, and then they would have the clinical disease. So it's called antibody-dependent enhancement. And I was thinking of doing a review of all of the work that these graduate students did, and it's all published, but kind of bringing it up to date. And then I spent about 10 years trying to develop a vaccine for this, and that was in the early 1990s. And we had a vaccine, but the problem was, had two problems with it. One, it wasn't safe and it didn't work. So we never released it, and there is a vaccine out there that's very similar to it on the market, but it never should have been approved anyway. And it's not used at all in veterinary medicine, very rarely. But I wanted to take that information together and put it in kind of a review of historical perspectives of this antibody-dependent enhancement in the feline virus, thinking that it may be relevant to the human virus. There's some discussion about antibody-dependent enhancement with the COVID-19 virus. And so that's the reason for doing it, going back into the archives and pulling out the information that this started in there, in the mid 1970s and on up through late 1990s.
when writing Open Doors, did you face any challenges? And if so, what were the challenges?
I don't recall any particular challenges. Had some challenges getting it published, and I wanted it to be in a Christian group, and I didn't have the right connections to getting to the right place. And then I saw an advertisement on TV about Trilogy Christian Publishing, and so I contacted them, and boy, it was a smooth road from that point on.
That's good. That's good. Who designed your book cover?
That was designed by Trilogy, one of the artists that worked there for them. I gave them, what I wanted to look for, colors and things that are some thoughts that I had, and they took it from there. And I was very pleased with the covers.
Now, talk to me about your creativity when you're writing a book. Do you sit in your office and spread out other books as you use them as a resource? How do you, what is your strategy or plans or steps when you're writing your book?
It depends upon the book. I mean, most of the Open Doors was basically from my memory. And I'd sit at the typewriter and just type, on a particular happening that occurred, and that was amazing to me. And if you really think about it, Dr. David Jeremiah once said that if you look back, if you're a believer and look back at your life, you'll see where the Lord opened doors, closed doors, changed things, and and just all of these things to make your life better and along the way. And that's exactly what the story was with my life, and so it was fun to go back and think about, what about that, and so, and then I was thinking one night, I was trying to think about what really generated the situation. I had some research results, and I was finishing that up, and I had more to add to it, but basically I had the results that I needed. In other words, that was, what age should kittens be vaccinated against this feline parvovirus or feline panleukopenia virus, which is commonly called feline distemper at that time. That was the most devastating disease in cats in the mid-1960s. No question about it. And so I'm thinking about how that, from getting the results that I had, and how the results came very quickly. But then how was I transitioning from that to presenting that to the veterinarians throughout the country and everything? And I'm just sitting there, just contemplating on this one night, in the middle of the night, quiet. All of a sudden, the Holy Spirit said, "This was the plan that I had for you. I placed you in the epicenter of feline infectious disease research so that you could do research on feline panleukopenia and then take that results to the veterinarians out there so that this disease could be totally controlled." Wow. And that's exactly what the situation was. Even though I wasn't a believer at that point, he was guiding me. And within 10 years, this disease, feline panleukopenia, which was the most devastating disease in cats at that time in the mid-1960s, by the mid-1970s, that disease was almost totally controlled. Veterinarians out there rarely ever saw a disease, a case of this. And our students coming in that had been in various veterinary clinics all over the place, you ask them, how many of you have seen a case of clinical panleukopenia? And most of them say, no, we never saw it. And that was through the beautiful vaccines that we had and the work that the practicing veterinarians did out there. So.
Now, as any advice you would give to inspire an author when it comes to writing a book?
Well, I think some advice that I was given when it was relative to publishing scientific papers, but same would apply to a book. When I was working on foot and mouth disease, a veterinarian that was at the same laboratory that I was gave me a couple points of view that I've always kept in mind. One is you need to get a peg or something that really provides the key that you want people to get out of the book. And then you keep that in mind while you're writing. The other was select a person that you know that you would like to have him or her read this book. And you write it such that that person would be able to understand it. And rather than just throwing out information, and you select one person, and while you're writing, you continually think about that one person that you're writing to. If it's a scientific paper, this is one thing. You probably are thinking of another scientific person. If it's a lay publication, you're thinking of somebody that would not have knowledge or be not use too many big words that would overpower them. So that's always, and that was back in the in the 60s. I received that, and I always kept that with me. Those points.
That's a very good point. That is a very good point. I never even thought about that. With all the authors I interview, I never thought about that, because you do want to focus on a certain person or area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never even thought of that. Because when I think of, because I'm not an author, so when I think of authors and writing books, you write into the masses. And I always wonder, how do you, narrow down to who's your demographics? So yeah, that's a great point. So where can they find your book at online?
Well, it's in Amazon. There's a web page that we have now. It's fredwscott.com/ and that's my website for this book. and those are all lowercase letters, you know, and that. And in that, there's the interview that I had with Logan Crawford, and then the other books that we've talked about here are listed there so that people can check on any of those.
Nice. And as we close out, any final thoughts or closing remarks?
Well, it's been a great journey. It's been a great trip. You know, so one thing that I've laughed about recently, because I'm in my late 80s, and someone of my age was asked, you know, how old are you? And he said, well, I'm in the fourth quarter, but I'm hoping for overtime. So
that's funny. My dad used to always say it, the fourth quarter. Yeah.
So anyway, you know, it's just one fabulous journey that I had in veterinary medicine, and a lot of other things as well. We've had a great life. I got a great family, and my wife is still with me here, and you know, 90 years. She's 90 years old, and we're still chugging along. So.
Nice. Well, I want to thank you for doing the interview today, Fred Scott.
My pleasure. Thank you, and thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So that's my time today on the Real Rap Radio Show, and I'll see you guys next time on the Real Rap Radio Show on Downtown Hot Radio with Walil Archer. Thanks, guys.
Listen to Downtown Hot Radio on the air 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Tune in by downloading the Downtown Hot Radio's mobile app. Listen on our website, www.downtownhotradio.com.